Welcome everyone, I'm Chris Dobbin and I'm thrilled to have you here today for another session of our Amplify Your Brand series of the ultimate live on building powerful brands in a digital landscape. Along with my friend and fellow colleague and branding expert Samoa there on the screen, we're here to share expertise and help you take your brand to the next level. So whether you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, a marketing professional, or someone who's thinking about taking their personal brand to the next level, this live stream is practical insights and strategies that will help you amplify your brand and stand out in that digital landscape. So please take notes, put what we talk about today into action, because by the end of this live stream, you'll have a clear roadmap on building a brand that truly resonates with your target audience. So thank you again for joining us, and let's find another way to amplify your brand. And I'm a bit pumped about today's one because it's about finding branding your zone of genius and unlocking that unique potential. And we've all got this. I mean, our DNA is our DNA. So we are individuals as a whole. But, most of us have something we're really, really good at. We're born to do. Some of us have found it early in life. Others, we're still trying to find it. But when you do find it, most people don't capitalize on it. Even if you're really good at something, we all know somebody out there who's got potential, who's pretty good at something, but they just don't use it to the best of their ability. And then we've got people who are trying to do this, but don't know how to go about it. And what we're really excited about in today's sessions, we've found some things that you may not have thought about or you may have thought about, and we're going to try to unlock them for you so that maybe you can reach out to us and have a chat about how we can brand this idea, because I think that's the key to this, is that people think about branding again as logos, but if you go through this process we're going to talk about today, you'll find that branding, whatever your zone of genius is going to help you do it better, and people are going to get you. And this may lead to hopefully someone that watches this might actually have a life-changing moment, because that's how powerful I think today's session is going to be for somebody who follows along with these things we're going to talk about today. So your thoughts on that, Sim?
Truly transformative is what I encapsulate everything you just talked about there, Chris. I was a late bloomer in a couple of aspects, including my career, the one that I'm still doing today and that I still love. Been doing this for a long, long time, but it wasn't until late in my career, or sort of a number attached to it at 31 that I jumped. And I dared to want more, to do more with what I love doing. So I was working in the south of Portugal in graphic design studios and local companies. And then one day I just said, okay, I'm tired of playing small. Let's see how good I really am. And let's see if I can perform at the world stage. And that's when I dared to put my brand out there. And things unveiled from there. And here we are today on the other side of the world, Australia, doing a podcast with yourself. And never would have I thought that 15 years ago that would have been possible if I didn't jump in that zone of genius and truly embodied what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. And look, I've always loved branding, and I've always skirted around branding with other expertise and things that I have gained talent in. But branding, I've learned encompasses all of it. And I'm really, really excited about getting to this. So let's get into it. So branding your zone of genius. It's based on our P8 branding program that we've spent 20 years developing and upgrading our branding identity framework. So which it encompasses 8 critical sections of the brand, which we call the 8 Ps. And it's an easy to understand and implement program. So every business owner or individual out there who wants to amplify the brand, take these 8 steps we've got, or 8 things that we cover, and you are going to achieve that. Today, we're talking about the purpose. Understanding your purpose and kicking that off will lead to the other 7 parts of our branding program to just flow. Let's talk about the overview of today. So what we're going to be overviewing today is we're going to define what makes that zone of genius unique and how it's going to be perceived by your audience. We're going to learn the importance of tailoring your zone of genius to resonate with your audience and address their specific challenges. And then we're going to explore how you can benefit from branding your zone of genius to your target audience. And to kick it off, we're just going to define it, right? So the zone of genius refers to a set of activities or tasks that align with your individual's unique strengths, talents, and natural inclinations. So If you're in a space where you not only excel, but you also have experience in a deep sense of fulfillment and joy. So this zone is characterized by a high level of competence, creativity, and a natural flow of energy. And it seems pointing it out there for you. But why your zone of genius? I'm just going to get into this. The branding of zone of genius is a strategic and intentional process that involves this. So showcasing your unique strengths, skills, and contributions. So by branding your zone of genius, it's about consciously shaping the way others perceive you with the ultimate goal of maximizing your potential, creating meaningful connection, and achieving success on your terms or your own terms. By discovering more about your zone of genius, it's key in personal development and self-discovery. So aiming for more fulfilling and a purpose-driven life. Hence why we're in the yellow section today, and we're talking about finding your purpose in the sense of finding your zone of genius. And you highlighted your example personally there at the start, and I guess hopefully what will happen today is that others will find theirs by going through these things we're going to talk about today. So let's kick it off. Differentiation. You get to stand out in the crowd. In a competitive landscape, in a personal branding helps you stand out by highlighting what makes you unique in your talents and make you valuable. It seems obvious, but if you brand your zone of genius, so you know what you're good at, and you're sitting there with a bunch of other people, whether it's your career, a business owner, whatever the scenarios are, and that's what I want to take on this, is that a lot of people think branding is for personal brands or for a business. It's actually useful if you're in a career to find out what makes you tick and what makes you stand out. And so if we can make you a little bit different in the way we go about our branding program, we would love to help you get there and stand out in that crowd, because most people have, as I said, talent, but they don't know how to make it valuable. And that's one thing people love working on with you, is finding a way that you stand out in the aspect of, if you're a whole bunch of account executives, what makes you different from all the other account executives on your level? Or if you're a CEO, what makes you different from other CEOs? These are things that we can help you work on so that we can bring them to the surface and make you stand out in the crowd. And when we get to these other steps we're going to talk about today, or topics, you're going to understand that this is really, really valuable. Do you have any points on this one, to stand out in the crowd?
I like that last couple of sentences, highlighting what makes you uniquely talented and valuable. To me, that is the description of the symptom that leads to finding that zone of genius. The interesting part of it is when we get lost in something that we do and we lose track of time, it just seems to flow, and we're in this limbo. In that space, we are abstracted from everything else. And sometimes it takes a tap on the shoulder. Sometimes it takes a professor earlier in life, a teacher saying, "Where are you off to, Mr. Simon?" Something along the lines of Earth calling your name, whatever that is. It means you probably went to a space where you de-obstructed everything else to spend time dedicating yourself to it. That is a talent that you probably have, and that maybe it was railroaded out of you. Maybe you found it later in life. Whoever's watching this today, your talent will have a symptom, and that symptom translates through that being lost in it.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's move on to the next one, because you're standing out in the crowd. Next thing is, it's going to help your career. Now, a career can be a business career, or it could be a career being employed by somebody else, but you're going to get this professional recognition. So by branding your zone of genius, it can lead to increased visibility and recognition in your industry, potentially opening up opportunities for that career advancement. So you may be in middle management, but you're really good at something, but you're not getting recognized. So let's take some of the assets of what you've got and put it into a way that it's seen, as I said, in a consistent way, so that it builds that professional recognition, which leads to career advancement. So anyone out there looking to advance their career, we'd love to have a chat to you about how we might be able to help you. Go, Sid.
This is a very interesting one, and it rings a bell early on from that jump that I just described to you listening to this, that I did a number of years ago. Early on in my stint with this big company that I worked at, I made it known to a few of my colleagues in private conversations that I had a passion for t-shirts, designing t-shirts and that sort of thing. It just so happened that within the first month of me getting to the first 2 months of me getting to this company, there was a t-shirt campaign to launch t-shirts in the Europe in market, and this company wanted to make a big splash. Well, the word got to the creative director that Simon liked to design t-shirts. So I was assigned to the t-shirt campaign launch. And interestingly enough, I came up with three concepts. The three concepts were differing in results. The third one of them, it actually led to the director of marketing coming over and congratulating me for timing their best record selling previous campaign. And that made one thing. It created one distinction. This is the career advancement Chris was talking about. It created the perception that Simon was the belly girl guy, and everything creative that needed a little bit of extra pepper in it, I should be the guy involved in that campaign. Because in that campaign launch, I created a visual of a very nice young lady wearing a t-shirt cut in half, showing part of her belly. Hence the belly girl, for which I became known for. For the next 5 years of my stint with that company, I was the belly girl guy, and that was the easy introduction that differentiated me out of a team of 40-something designers in the company. And that was, this is the focus of whatever it is that you do. There is something that you have a passion naturally tending towards that will maybe distinguish yourself among your peers and your equals.
That's right. No, I love the story, and hopefully people hear it to the end. Otherwise, yes, the belly girl. It doesn't ring straight away when the man I know, but hopefully you explain that whole story to its fulfillment. Speaking of, and you've just touched on this, so you increased your opportunity and attract opportunity because you had a well-defined personal brand that attracted opportunities that align with your strengths, helping others make choices that resonate with your goals and aspirations, or you to make choices that resonate. So in your case, you attracted an opportunity because you showed and spoke and got that talent out there and people found you. That's what we're trying to say, is if you're very clear and focused on what you do and you let others know this, then they're clearly going to go, that person is great at this, use them. And this is why we're saying get your personal brand out there. You're going to start attracting opportunities because the likeness attracts likeness. And I think it's a fantastic example you just highlighted. But we're reinforcing it here by saying opportunities become available to you because people now know who you are and what you are good at, and they want to use you for it. It's going to enhance your networking. So you're going to build stronger connections, a strong personal brand that makes networking more effective as people are drawn to those who have a clear sense of identity and purpose. So we don't like cocky, but we do like confidence.
Yeah.
So, and there's a way to be humble and vulnerable and be likable, if you know what I mean, and still be strong-willed and clear and divisive in the way you go about things. So, understanding how you do that and how you go about that is what a clear brand brings to this. So, do you have anything to add to that?
LinkedIn is an excellent example of what personal brands have proven they can do for business inside the business arena. Most people who took their time getting onto that platform and shifting from the mindset of simply splattering their CV online and having it there to send HR representatives whenever the time to hunt for a new job came around, turned into the playground for personal brands to truly flourish, where attention shifted from blue-collar, blank statement corporate environment to now we are discovering that behind these big businesses, there are personal brands that actually have something distinctive about them. And when you like some of them enough, you follow them. So this is what building a strong connection is all about, is making your highlights visible to others with intention and consistency.
Yep, I love it. So anyone out there on LinkedIn looking to build their brand and needing to work on it, we're here for you. Here's another one, a positive first impression. So first impressions do matter. A well-branded zone of genius leaves you with a positive and memorable impression on others, creating a lasting impact in a professional and personal interaction. So your LinkedIn example there was a great one. People online literally have milliseconds to make that decision whether they like or dislike you. And if you can do something about that image you have that gets them to go, I'm going to stop scrolling, I'm just going to have a quick look at this and then get involved. That's what we're talking about. So that
Yes.
little small percentage that we can help you look in a certain way that attracts people because we're trying to get that likeness thing we talked about earlier. That's where this first impression can be the point of difference that we give you. And we're not talking about just visuals too here. There might be words on that page. There might be the way you communicate it. It's actually maybe showing up where you need to show up to be seen in a consistent way. So that's what we're really talking about here, is finding that positive impression in the first impression. So, yep.
And guess how many opportunities you get at creating a first impression?
Oh, millions, right? Millions.
I
think it's the way it's in the title there.
Wrong. Wrong.
You get one.
The funny thing.
Actually, I will say though, there have been times when someone has forgotten who I am and met me a second time, and I've had that second opportunity to create that first impression. So that is when it can happen. But the reason it happened was because my first impression wasn't that impressive. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
hence
you
the title.
can get lucky.
Impressions matter.
Yeah.
Like what Chris just described is exactly what I was going to follow up with that. And before the follow up, here's the bottom line takeaway from this one. It takes about 7 to 9 seconds for somebody to have a first impression. It's one moment, one snippet of the beginning of the relationship. You're not stuck to it. It's not immutable for the infinity of time. It is a first impression. That's it. Chris just reinforced that. You don't have to get stuck to the first impression. Many of us may at times start on the wrong foot with somebody else, hence the expression starting on the wrong foot. But first impressions are a fantastic way of starting to take control of the perception you create, aka your brand. So they do matter, and you better have a strategy in place for creating that first impression matter.
That's right. Yep. Moving on to the next one. This is more related to sort of individuals, but you can look at this as something you do even with your business side of things. It's a career transition. So it's about facilitating change. So if you decide to transition from in a new career industry, a strong personal brand can ease that process by showcasing you've got transferable skills and expertise. So I think this is something that people don't consider, but it is something that you can spend a bit of time on, especially if you've been successful in the previous job, or in that job you were successful at doing something, but you weren't known in the industry you're heading into for that. So you can then create a brand, a personal brand that people can go, oh, well, that's who you are. And yes, I can see how that's transferable to this new industry you're coming into. And yeah, come on board. Let's do something together. Many scientists have become artists, and many artists have become scientists just because of the fact that they've had these two skill sets, but they've just sort of been focusing on the artist side or the science side and not really looked at how the two combine. So many people have been very good in the industry and then been able to transfer those skills to another industry because that industry has a gap, which we've talked about in other opportunities previously. So keep it in mind that this way of identifying what you're really good at, finding your zone of genius and looking at different industries can also be a way of making that transition seamless because you know why you're doing it and get there. So this leads to client, customer, and trust. So understanding your zone of genius allows you to establish that trust. For entrepreneurs and freelancers, a strong personal brand helps them establish that trust with clients and customers, and it showcases their expertise and reliability. So again, nobody likes the cocky, but what people do get attracted to is confidence and knowing why you do what you do, and then backing it up by having things that you do really well, and then highlighting those things, bringing those things to the surface. So we as stupid consumers don't have to think. We just have to feel, and then we go, feels good. I want to go with that person because I feel like I trust what they're doing and what they're capable of, because they make me feel a certain way, and I want to have that problem solved, or I want to go down that pathway. You've made that clear, is what I'm trying to highlight here. So you know why your zone of genius is your genius, and you've made it clear to the person because you've branded it properly. Let's talk about influence and thought leadership. So, if you know your zone of genius, you're going to position yourself as a thought leader. You're going to have a well-branded zone of genius that positions you as that expert in your field, allowing you to influence others and contribute meaningfully to discussions. I love that. Like, if you know who you are, what you are, and why you're doing it, and where you should be showing up, you're going to come across as this person that is someone who I need to go to and talk to, because no one else is talking like you, or no one else is so focused and clear on what they're saying to get to where they're going. And this is why understanding your zone of genius is influential in the way that you go about thought leadership. Yep.
Yes, well, building strong connections, creating a very good first impression, having a set of skills that transfer across positions and industries, and then establishing that trust is consequentially relevant to this thought leadership Chris is just talking about. This is a result of the work you've put in intentionally guiding your personal brand. And when you become that thought leader, you have access to conversations, to rooms, to people that most people without that position ever get to experience. So consider thought leadership a hugely, hugely important tool in your personal brand belt.
That's right. Yeah. Now, we talk about this as part of our purpose process we go through. So alignment with your values. So a zone of genius reflects personal values. So if you're branding your zone of genius, it should reflect not just those values, but the principles that attract those opportunities to align with your personal and professional beliefs. So we've touched on this in other episodes where, you can't really fake this to make it, because essentially the truth will come out, or people can smell that you're not really into whatever you're doing when you are in this zone of genius. So don't just think, I really like something, I think I should do that. That's not really going to get you where you need to go. Unless it's a passion, then you can try to maybe push it, but you have to be honest at the beginning. You don't know what you're doing. You have to say, look, I'm really passionate about this, and I'm learning about it, and I want to get into it, and I want you to come on my journey with me. That is being a different way of getting there than trying to say that. But we're talking about zone of genius today, which is really that you actually already are there. You've been doing it, you've delivered on it, you know exactly what you're talking about, but now you want to get it out there, and the message has to come in with your values that you have. So you can't just all of a sudden just decide you've got new values, because eventually it'll come out. We're talking about here knowing them, and then looking at why you have them, and then attracting more people to you because you have those principles. And this is why branding your zone of genius is really a great way to go about it, because you can fast track others who are in a similar way going, well, I agree with that. I like that. That resonates with me. I need to know more about this person or this brand or this person and what they're doing. So, yeah.
And the interesting part about the reflection of personal values is that once you do it consistently, the attraction effect it propagates throughout your ecosystem will generate those opportunities. These opportunities can be anything ranging from brand deals, sponsorship, collaboration programs, shared audiences. If you decide to launch a campaign and some other brand aligns with your value, they will be very okay. If they haven't approached you yet, they will be very okay with sharing their audience because of those personal values. And you can't just mask your personal values with, oh, I'm about order today and tomorrow stand for a chaotic, anarchic principle or movie or brand that reflects those values. So There's a reason why fast food chains never pick athletes to represent them, because the values have been stated, repeated consistently throughout time, and they don't match. That's okay. That's okay. But that's why nutrition brands and athletes do collaborations on an ongoing basis, because they reflect each other's values to either audiences.
Funny enough, you said that though. The AFL here in Australia though has their players eating McDonald's in their ads. So there is one example of that not being the case.
Well, the Portuguese team is sponsored by a beer, but these are teams. These are not individual brand deals. They're sponsorships. Then we know that this is based on money.
Exactly.
It's buying a brand and burning it to an extent for the sake of receiving a financial payoff. So, and if that's also a possibility. However, most of the people listening to this will not be at that stage, or not be in the circles that teams would attract sponsorships such as those. We're trying to base this conversation on the personal value, and that's where we're sticking to, even though there are exceptions to everything. Like, we're talking as a principle.
That's right. And there's always going to be an exception to the rule, or some kind of thing that just bends. Like, that's life. That's how that works. But
exactly.
In general, what we're trying to say is that if you have your values and you've got them pinned on the wall and you know what they are, you will, when you are attracted by these sponsorship deals or these opportunities and things like that, you'll actually know which ones to take and which ones to not take, because you'll just know that they just don't fit with what you are about. So, and that doesn't matter whether you're a big brand or little brand, they're the things. But as I said, there are some exceptions, such as the one I just highlighted. So let's get into the next one, which is, it's going to increase your confidence if you know what you're about. So boosting self-confidence. Having a strong personal brand reinforces your confidence, helping you navigate challenges with a positive mindset. So you're just going to feel good about yourself, which I think is fantastic in the way that you go about this, because knowing thyself, as you've used in a number of our presentations, means that you're just going to feel confident about what you're doing with this personal brand, or this brand that you're working in, this zone of genius that you've decided to focus on. So knowing that is your expertise is already the first step in knowing that you know what you're talking about. So you're going to have confidence with that. But by having all these other assets that we bring to the table to build that personal brand, or the brand of the, as I said, this may end up becoming a business zone of genius that you have. But it may also just be more that you want to, others to identify you in a career transition, or a way that you want to be a thought leader in your industry, all these kind of things. But you can do it with confidence, because we've gone through a program that highlights what brings to the surface the brandable assets of that zone of genius that you're trying to focus on. Okay, so I think that's a positive, and positive mindset leads to positive outcomes.
Absolutely.
This is where it leads to personal growth. So it's a catalyst for development. So the process of branding your zone of genius often involves reflection, self-discovery, contribution to personal growth, and continuous improvement. You touched up at the very opening of this session today that's what happened to you when you went to that sort of job. You had some assets, you had some passions, you had some interests, but by identifying that zone of genius, telling others about it, it attracted those opportunities that we highlighted earlier. And then you went through a process where you were able to grow from that opportunity.
Absolutely did go through a process. That process led me to want more out of life. And it's no coincidence, looking back today, that it matched, or it was in the sequence of attending an event, the personal development event, and daring to want more. And interestingly enough, it was self-confidence that led to being able to develop myself to that point of playing at a bigger stage. Absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly. But knowing this is your zone of genius, and we all know that even if you know something well enough, there's always more to learn. So Now, the thing about knowing there's more to learn doesn't mean that you just go off and learn everything, right? We're talking about, because you have a zone of genius, you can focus on where that development comes from, and then its self-improvement comes from. because you've always got like this checklist that we work with you on that says, does this meet this criteria? Yes, it does. So yes, that's something we should focus on. And you're building that brand around this particular zone of genius, where if you don't understand your zone of genius and you're not trying to brand it, you will just keep doing what you do. You just, you're a butterfly and you're just flowing to the next light that you see, or the moth to a flame kind of thing. So that's what I'm trying to highlight there. So, being clear is going to help you build a zone of genius that allows you to look at self-reflection, self-discovery, and then obviously that personal growth through, continually improving on it. So rounding it out is the big one here, is that if you brand your zone of genius, you're going to start communicating with clarity. You're going to have clear messaging. Your personal brand provides clarity to how you communicate your skills and expertise, making it easier for others to understand what you bring to the table, which is pretty powerful. Like, if you can be in all those other aspects we just talked about with the zone of genius, and you can just clearly define it rather than going, I'm really good at this. And that's like, great, you're good at it. But if you say, I'm really good at this because it helps you, whoever I'm talking to, get to here, and you can do this, they're like, you can help me do that. All right, I'm in, let's go. That's a totally different conversation to saying I'm really good at something.
It is very powerful, and it can be very difficult, or at least it takes its time to learn how to do properly, to be a good technician of a domain of expertise and marketing that domain of expertise. Hence what we're about. We're about amplifying brands that are experts at what they do. And so that this wasn't born with us. This is in no way ingrained in my first 3 years of life. I struggled sincerely after I decided to go into my own freelancing and being my own boss. That journey took a fair bit for me to realize what I needed to do as far as transposing the position of the technical professional to marketing that in a way that is relevant to you listening to this today. Right? Yeah. I'm not telling you to create better squares or go to Illustrator and draw shapes in this way and color them that way. I'm talking about outcomes. I'm talking about how it's going to impact your life, how it is going to be relevant to your existence, not just talking about the technical side of it. Clear messaging is eventually the big distinguisher between being a good technician and being an excellent brand.
That's right. Yeah. And look, the simple fact is just like coming back to you knowing thyself. Like, you're just going to know what you're talking about, and you're going to do it with a clear message. We know so many experts out there that are really, really good at what they do, but they're so technical that they talk about what's of interest to them and forget about their audience and saying, hey, look, you may be able to solve that world's problem, but if you tell it this way, those people listening to you are going to go, that's me. I want that. Or that's something I want. How do you do that? And you're like, well, the how's what I do. Come to me, let's get it done. So, so clear messaging, you get a lot more interest into what you're doing, and you'll feel better about what you're saying out loud. So, look, thought that was the end of it, but no, there's another one. You can navigate change effectively. So this is actually number 13 on the list. I've got a little boo-boo there, but we'll work that out. So navigate change effectively. In rapidly evolves professional landscapes, and strong personal brand makes it easy to adapt to change, pivot, and when necessary. So I love this, especially if you were doing something during COVID and then COVID hit. If you knew what you were about, what you're on about, you would have been able to find ways to adapt to that situation a couple of years ago. You would have been able to navigate it pretty easily because you would have found ways to evolve in that professional landscape. If you were doing everything offline, you would have found a way to quickly jump online and adapt those things. And I think there's so many examples that people could look at in that period. You'll see that people who were maybe mediocre in the way that they were known, but really good at what they did in the zone of genius. But as soon as they had an online environment where they got a captive audience, where everybody was there and they were twiddling their thumbs, and I mean, I'm really interested in, growing roses or fishing or basketball or something like that. And then you jumped online, you found somebody who was also bored, but they were an expert at this, and they went, well, I've got time to do stuff. Let's create some videos. All of a sudden, you had that opportunity to become a zone of genius leader, a personal brand, but you were able to adapt because the situation changed for you, and you found a captive audience. So knowing how to pivot. Anyway, you go. Go, sir.
Yeah, and doing it effectively. Did you see what Chris did right there at the start of the slide? It wasn't slide 13. However, he navigated the change very effectively and on the spot pivoted to the topic that he had in front of them, and he surfed it really, really well. If it was an extremely analytical person and would have got stuck to the fact that it was not 13 after the next slide we're going to show you, and got stuck and had a block moment, that would have symbolized what navigating change ineffectively stands for. With that said, everybody who went through the COVID period found ways to pivot very effectively, transfer skills that they had previously, maybe apply to a position, and applied it to a new reality. Right now, what we have undergoing with the renaissance of technology and the complete retooling of skills that we thought we had that were only intrinsic to us is now being exposed via AI. So what are we going to do about that? Are we still going to be disputing technical aspects with a machine that does everything we taught it to do like we do, but 10 times, 100 times quicker? Or are we going to be shifting into new ways of thinking, leading the machine and instructing the future to happen?
Yeah, and I love the idea of exploring that in a future topic. So join us sometime in the future and we talk about that one. Spoiler alert, the next one is going to be 14, but it's going to say 12. So here we have long-term career satisfaction. So this is the final slide on this topic that we're going to talk about, which is fulfilling career choices. So by aligning your personal brand with your zone of genius, you're more likely to make career choices that lead to long-term satisfaction and fulfillment. So when I say career, this doesn't mean your job, right? This could be your business. This could be your day-to-day thing you go about where you're involved, whether it's a hobby or whatever it is. Like, we're not just talking about a career in the sense of a job where you get the gold watch at the end of it, right? It's not that kind of thing. We're talking about just your life in general as a career. You're going to fulfill that by just making better choices. You're going to know what leads to satisfaction and fulfillment for you, like what makes you happy. And that's one of the key things about this whole process about personal branding. You don't want to create a personal brand that depresses you and upsets you and makes you unhappy. You want it to be the opposite. You want it to fulfill your life and give you a whole bunch of satisfaction. And it's about you and others coming along on that journey and feeling like we're achieving something together. It's, changing the world or changing the industry or changing a process that everyone hasn't been happy with. Whatever those things are, you're going to be able to make those choices with a lot more satisfaction and outcomes where you're going to strive for something. Because part of the process we work on with purpose is finding your mission and your values and your direction you want to go, so that you know why you're doing what you're doing and you know who you're talking to and why they are going to react a certain way if you go about it a certain way. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts? Yeah.
Yes. Well, wholesomeness comes to mind when we spend a life doing what we love. And even when that love needs adaptations and calibrations and little shifts along the way, when we have been able to create a journey of complete fulfillment, that's when at the end of it, we are able to look back and say, I was happy. Either something was not value-based and didn't correspond to the area that made you shine your brightest, and you were able to fully exploit it, or you're always going to have that impression, that underlying feeling that you have an unsung theme inside you and you didn't let it out. And that's usually what leads to middle-age crisis, identity situations, exploring the red Ferrari that you didn't get to have when you were younger. You didn't break the dishes when you were supposed to, when it was time, and you get to the deep end of your 50s and 60s, and now you still have to go back and have that moment with yourself to make sure you got it out. Now, I'm not talking about Ferraris are not good, because they are. All of that is good. However, when you build a full-on career based on your choices, on your terms, even if you failed, even if you had to starve to get to where you wanted to get, you will have a very different feeling than if you didn't, and you kept playing somebody else's blueprint and you were just a pawn in that blueprint. Personal branding, true personal branding, can be very, very wholesome. And this is the main message we want to leave you with today.
Yeah, and to be honest, if you're feeling like that and you want to get out of it, we're here to work with that and find your zone of genius. And trust me, when you find it, you'll know, and you'll feel the sensations we're talking about. But let's get into the concluding today's session by talking about the fact that hopefully what we've identified today is we've defined what makes that zone of genius unique for you, and how what you want it to be perceived by your audience will have these outcomes. And hopefully you've learnt the importance of tailoring that zone of genius to resonate with an audience and address their specific challenges. And finally, hopefully we've explored benefits of branding it so that the zone of genius is going to meet your target audience and you're going to enjoy the whole process of creating that zone of genius. So in summary, this is the coffee cup moment we have each week where we talk about, in summary, discovering the branding and zoning your genius is a transformative process that sets you apart from opening doors to opportunities and career growth. So aligning your personal brand with your unique strengths establishes a distinct identity, fostering trust and influencing those around you. Embracing your zone of genius is really a strategic move forward to realizing your full potential and achieving your long-term success and goals, I believe that says. So, yeah, looking forward to those that would want to talk about that. Anything on the coffee cup moment, my friend?
We've said it. We've said it. Pretty much everything along the way.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
So, what we'd love you to do is book a discovery session. So, let us understand your business or your personal brand and assess the state of that brand. Let's look at your goals and where you want to be. Because if you've just watched this and gone, hey, I've got a zone of genius, but I have no idea how to get it out there, then we would love to have a chat with you. And how does it work? Well, we have the brand guardianship in place, which is simple as a 1, 2, 3. We book a discovery call with you. We work through everything we talked about today to really assess what you're at and where you want to go, so that we want to be able to amplify your brand. So we select a program that works for you because we understand one size doesn't fit all, and it depends on your journey and where you're at. We'd love to meet those goals and put a plan together that works for you. From there, we look at onboarding and coaching, and we find ways to implement that plan with regular meetings to assign you and stay focused on amplifying your brand. So please reach out to us, book a discovery session, and let's understand your business better, and let's be where your brand wants to be. So thank you, everybody, for today. We really do appreciate you being here. And if you reach out to us, please let us know where you're at. I will actually pass it over to you, Sim. You do this spiel a little bit better than I do. What would you like people to do?
Wherever you're watching this, either platform and or country, please place a comment and let us know where that is. We'd love to connect with you, even if it is digitally.
Yep. Looking forward to it, guys. So thank you again for joining us this week, and we look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you.